Most people think they know what success looks like. Maybe it's the president of a country, the CEO of a billion-dollar company, or a celebrity with hundreds of millions of followers. But what if someone from another planet came here to find the most successful human and picked a baker from a small town instead? That's exactly what happens in the following story. An alien named Damian visits Earth asking one simple question: who is the most successful person on this planet? Naturally, world leaders, tech billionaires, and social media stars are the first to be introduced. But after running scans that evaluate people's emotional stability, mental health, and overall well-being, Damian is disturbed by what they find. These so-called successful individuals are exhausted, isolated, and emotionally unstable. Despite their wealth, power, or fame, the top figures of society are shown to be mentally worn down, disconnected from others, and even from themselves. It's a hard truth that most of us might recognize in some way. Success, as it's commonly defined, often comes at the cost of our well-being. And then comes the twist. After scanning the planet for someone truly thriving, not by wealth or influence, but by inner balance and emotional health, the aliens find someone totally unexpected: Rebecca, a baker who enjoys walks, painting, writing, and being part of her small community. She's not perfect. She admits to being sad sometimes, even selfish at times, but she's honest about it. She tries to live well, care for others, and appreciate life despite its flaws. From Damian's point of view, that is what success really looks like. This flips everything. It suggests that maybe we've been measuring the wrong things all along. The story's main idea isn't just an alien judgment. It's a mirror. It asks us, are we chasing versions of success that make us miserable? And more importantly, what would it mean to succeed in a way that actually feels good to live? Maybe success isn't about being admired by millions. Maybe it's about being at peace with yourself. That's a concept worth thinking about. Rebecca didn't have power. She didn't have wealth. She wasn't a public figure. But what she did have was something most high-profile people the alien met seemed to lack: a grounded, honest relationship with herself and her life. We often confuse external achievements with internal well-being, but those two don't always go hand in hand. In fact, the aliens' analysis revealed something quietly shocking. Many of the planet's most successful people were deeply unwell. They had adapted to stress and chaos as if it were normal. Some even seemed to thrive on burnout, isolation, and performance. It wasn't that they were sacrificing themselves for the greater good. It was more like they were stuck in cycles of self-destruction dressed up as ambition. This hits close to home. In everyday life, people are often encouraged to push harder, achieve more, and always stay busy. But if you asked those same people how they actually feel, how many would say they feel truly content? That's where the aliens' approach was different. Damian wasn't looking for resumes or follower counts. They were looking for signs of something deeper: harmony, resilience, emotional honesty, and a sense of connection. It challenges a major assumption many of us carry: that success must come with pressure, trade-offs, and emotional wear. But what if it doesn't have to? Rebecca wasn't perfect. She admitted to feeling sad and lonely at times, but she didn't run from it. She understood that life includes pain, and she made peace with it. She wasn't pretending everything was fine. She was doing the harder thing, facing life as it is, and still choosing to care. Real success isn't about what you own, how many people know your name, or how powerful you are. It might just be about how well you live with what's already around you. When the alien Damian chose Rebecca, a small-town baker, as the planet's most successful person, it wasn't random. It revealed something we rarely talk about. Emotional intelligence matters just as much, if not more, than technical or strategic skill. Rebecca wasn't solving global problems or building billion-dollar companies, but she was doing something just as difficult: managing her inner world with care. She understood grief, forgiveness, love, and imperfection, not in theory, but in practice. This is the kind of intelligence that doesn't show up on resumes or in follower counts. It's the ability to live well with others, to accept pain without becoming bitter, and to stay kind when things get hard. We often treat emotional intelligence as optional, or even soft. But what if it's the core of real strength? In the alien scan, it was. Damian wasn't impressed by material gains. They were looking for signs of psychological balance, empathy, and emotional depth, qualities that actually hold up under stress and over time. The people who seemed less successful by society's standards, the bakers, walkers, community members, might be the ones actually doing the best when it comes to long-term, sustainable well-being. This doesn't mean we should ignore ambition or achievement. but it does mean we might need to redefine what makes a life meaningful or admirable. Success, as it's usually portrayed, often comes at the cost of presence, being too busy to notice what's right in front of you. But Rebecca wasn't racing toward anything. She was in her life, not just managing it. That's a form of success worth taking seriously. Maybe it's not about being ahead of everyone else. Maybe it's about being connected to yourself, to others, and to the moment you're in. Rebecca didn't lead humanity. She said no, and that too was a kind of wisdom. Rebecca's story isn't about rejecting ambition. It's about rethinking what we aim for in the first place. When Damian asked her to lead humanity's collaboration with their species, she declined. Not because she wasn't capable, but because she understood her limits. She wasn't driven by ego or a desire to be seen as important. That refusal was powerful. It showed humility, self-awareness, and a deep understanding of what really matters. It's easy to assume that leadership requires authority, recognition, or exceptional talent. But Damian was drawn to something different: emotional clarity, honesty, and a balanced life. This raises a simple but important question. Have we built a world that rewards the wrong traits? Many of the individuals we elevate are rewarded for performance, not presence, for visibility, not virtue. But in the aliens' eyes, the traits most worthy of recognition were things like inner stability, openness, and genuine connection. That tells us something uncomfortable. The systems we live in might not reflect what we truly value: kindness, clarity, emotional health, and resilience. And if that's the case, maybe it's time to shift the lens. Imagine a culture that admired people for their ability to listen well, admit when they're wrong, or create spaces where others feel safe and seen. Imagine success being tied to how well you care for yourself and others, not how much you accumulate or control. Rebecca wasn't extraordinary in the way the world usually defines it, but she was emotionally intact. She could face hard truths without shutting down. She could love life without needing it to be perfect. Maybe that's the real test of success, not how far ahead you are, but how whole you've stayed. Damian didn't come to Earth looking for our biggest economies or fastest technologies. They came looking for the kind of person who could help them understand who we really are. And what they found was a quiet, grounded individual who reflected something we often overlook. Being human isn't about dominating. It's about sustaining. One of the biggest insights from this story is that progress, as we usually define it, might be incomplete. Economic growth, innovation, influence, these things matter. But without emotional well-being and social health, they don't mean much in the long run. Rebecca represented a kind of progress we don't usually track. The personal, invisible kind. The progress of becoming more patient, more forgiving, more accepting of life as it is. The kind of progress that doesn't show up in headlines, but quietly shapes how we live and how we treat others. If the highest forms of success are unhealthy, they're not worth replicating. And if a simple, emotionally balanced life holds the key to well-being, maybe that's a better place to aim. This doesn't mean rejecting ambition or settling for less. It means choosing goals that include your health, your relationships, your peace of mind. It means creating systems, schools, workplaces, governments, that value emotional maturity just as much as performance. Rebecca didn't ask to be seen. She didn't need to be. But in the end, she was the one the aliens trusted. Not because she had all the answers, but because she was grounded enough to admit she didn't. That kind of wisdom is rare, but it's not out of reach. It's found in people everywhere, quietly choosing to live well, even when no one is watching. If success is about who you become, not just what you achieve, then maybe we already have the map. We just need to follow it a different way. One of the most revealing parts of this story isn't what the alien found. It's how long it took humanity to realize what they were looking for. We keep putting forward the same kinds of people: powerful, rich, famous. And when none of them matched the aliens' criteria for success, our response wasn't curiosity, it was confusion. That confusion reveals something important. We've grown used to measuring people by what they do, not how they are. This happens everywhere. In workplaces, people are praised for being productive, even when they're burned out. In schools, kids are rewarded for high scores, even if they're anxious or disconnected. In social media, people are followed for looking successful, even when they're deeply unhappy. We often don't notice the cost of this because it's normalized. Constant stress, disconnection, restlessness, it all gets treated as part of the deal. The alien didn't accept that trade-off. They were looking for someone who wasn't just surviving, but living well. And that's why Rebecca stood out. Not because she had figured life out, but because she wasn't pretending. She accepted life's ups and downs without hiding behind an image. She didn't present herself as flawless. She presented herself as real. That's a success we're not used to seeing celebrated. Many of us already know this deep down. We feel the disconnect between what's rewarded and what's meaningful. We sense that the most valuable parts of life, like emotional connection, mental clarity, and quiet self-respect, are often treated as optional. But they're not. They're essential. This story shows what happens when we stop to reevaluate what really counts. And it reminds us that even in a noisy world, the most important signals are often quiet. How you treat people, how you care for your own mind, how honest you are about what it means to be alive. The story leaves us with an uncomfortable but necessary question. If we've been chasing the wrong kind of success, what now? We can't just flip a switch and redesign society overnight. But we can start to shift what we notice, what we admire, and what we aim for. That starts small. It looks like paying attention to people who are calm instead of loud, respecting those who listen instead of dominate, recognizing value in those who bring steadiness, not just results. It also means questioning the systems we're part of. Does our work reward health or just output? Do our schools teach emotional resilience or only grades? Do we build communities that support well-being or only competition? Change happens when enough people quietly start valuing different things. When enough of us say, being kind matters, rest matters, honesty matters, even if no one's handing out awards for those things yet. This story isn't about rejecting ambition. It's about integrating it with something healthier, about creating lives and systems that pursue success without sacrificing sanity. Rebecca's strength wasn't in pretending to be better than she was. It was in accepting what it means to be human and trying to live well anyway. That's not a lesser kind of success. It's a deeper one. We all have access to it. You don't need power or fame to be emotionally clear. You don't need wealth to be honest about what matters. And you don't need to be perfect to live meaningfully. The alien left not with a celebrity or leader, but with a deeper understanding of us and a quiet recognition that the truest form of success isn't out there in headlines. It's in how we live, moment by moment, with ourselves and each other. That's where real change begins. Throughout this story, there's one lesson that keeps surfacing. We've been trained to reach for greatness, but maybe we should be reaching for wholeness. Greatness, in the way we often define it, is about standing out, being faster, richer, more visible. Wholeness, on the other hand, is about being intact, mentally, emotionally, and relationally solid. Not flawless, but grounded. The alien didn't come to Earth to find the loudest person in the room. They came to find the most representative of human potential. And that didn't turn out to be the president, the tech founder, or the influencer. It was someone who lived quietly and honestly, with balance, depth, and humility. That matters, because it suggests a new model of leadership, one not based on dominance, but on emotional clarity and relational health. We need to stop outsourcing our values to systems that don't reflect them. If the people we elevate don't represent what we actually believe in, peace, care, connection, then maybe we need to start celebrating different people, and more importantly, becoming different people. We can start now, today, not by making huge changes, but by asking simple questions. Am I living in a way I respect? Am I building a life I'd want others to learn from? Am I measuring success in ways that lead to peace or pressure? The real point of the story isn't that Rebecca was the most successful. It's that someone like her could be. And that the more we notice people like her, quietly doing good, living well, and staying whole, the more we're likely to become like them. If we changed what we celebrated, we might change what we became.